The kingdom as inner experience in the Gospels. In the Gospel of Matthew, the expression kingdom of heaven appears repeatedly, while in the Gospel of Luke, the phrase kingdom of God is used. This is not a minor detail. Matthew writes for a Jewish audience that avoided pronouncing the divine name directly, hence the formula heaven. When Luke 17:21 states that the kingdom of God is within you, or among you, the original Greek uses entos hymen, which can mean both. That ambiguity is philosophically powerful. Within, an inner state of consciousness. Among, a relational reality, a different way of organizing coexistence. These readings are not mutually exclusive. In fact, they reinforce one another. Inner transformation alters the way we relate. 1. Archetypal dimension. Psychic integration. Your reference to Carl Gustav Jung is fitting. In his model, the self is the archetype of wholeness, the structure that integrates conscious and unconscious elements. When the ego ceases to identify itself as the absolute center, the process of individuation begins. From this perspective, the kingdom would be the religious metaphor for an integrated psyche. Heaven would not be a spatial location, but a higher level of inner organization. Not physically above, but superior in order. And here something important emerges. Integration does not eliminate human conflict, but it changes our relationship to it. It is not moral perfection, it is coherence. 1. Gnostic dimension. The kingdom as remembrance. The texts discovered in Nag Hammadi in 1945, among them the Gospel of Thomas, present a radically interior interpretation of Jesus' message. There, the kingdom is not a future apocalyptic event, but a present discovery. The Greek word gnosis implies experiential knowledge, not intellectual information. In this view, the human problem is not moral sin, but ontological ignorance, not knowing who one truly is. Here your idea of forgetfulness becomes central. The kingdom is not something constructed, it is something uncovered, not built, but remembered. That said, a critical nuance is necessary. Historical Gnosticism was not a single, unified movement, nor necessarily purer than institutional Christianity. It was one interpretation among many in the early centuries. 1. The Golden Age as symbol. The reference to Hesiod and his account of the ages of humanity, as well as the myth of Atlantis narrated by Plato, point toward a recurring human motif, the idea of a lost golden age. There is no solid historical evidence of a technologically superior vanished civilization, endowed with extraordinary powers. That must be stated clearly. But something equally fascinating remains. Nearly every culture preserves the myth of a better time. What if that past is not historical, but psychological? What if the Golden Age symbolizes an inner condition in which the human being lived less fragmented, more aligned with natural order? Perhaps it is not a lost race, but a forgotten level of consciousness. From this perspective, the kingdom of heaven becomes the symbol of integrated humanity, not necessarily in the past, not necessarily in the future, but as a permanent potential, integrating the three dimensions. Psychologically, the kingdom is integration. Spiritually, it is awakening. Collectively, it is a different mode of human organization. Imagine a society where decisions are not dominated by constant fear, extreme competition, and disconnection. Imagine structures built from inner coherence. This does not require supernatural miracles. It requires an evolution of consciousness. Perhaps the kingdom is not a place we go after death. Perhaps it is the next step in the maturation of our species. Not as escapist fantasy, not as denial of the world, but as transformation of perception, and therefore of action. Because when consciousness changes, behavior changes. And when behavior changes, social structures change. Perhaps that is why the phrase was so powerful. The kingdom is near. Near not in kilometers, near in possibility. It is not something descending from the sky. It is something that emerges when the human being stops living exclusively from fear and begins acting from integration. Perhaps the kingdom of heaven is not merely a religious promise. Perhaps it is the ancestral metaphor for the fully awakened human state. And the real question is not whether it exists. The real question is, are we willing to become the kind of consciousness that makes it visible? The truth and the light walk together. Those who seek for the truth find the light. Micel.